The global pet supplement market is now worth somewhere between $2.5 and $3 billion. And it's showing no signs of slowing. With steady growth projected over the next several years, we could be looking at a $4 to $6 billion category by the end of this decade.
That growth isn't random. It's driven by pet humanization, rising pet care costs, preventative health trends, and a whole lot of pet parents who just want more healthy years with their animals.
But here's the uncomfortable truth. From a regulatory standpoint, supplements can feel a little untamed. Some products on the market technically qualify as unapproved drugs, depending on how they're marketed.
Which makes this space complicated, to say the least. Because unlike pharmaceuticals, supplements don't go through formal FDA pre-approvals for safety and efficacy before they hit the shelves. And that leaves room for confusion and the occasional bad actors.
So you've got a booming market, high consumer demand, emotional decision-making, and inconsistent oversight. That's a volatile mix.
Hang on. It's not complete chaos. There is an organization working behind the scenes to bring structure, accountability, and science to this category.
Today, we're unpacking the National Animal Supplement Council and the NASC seal. What it does, what it doesn't do, and how pet owners can use it as a resource for finding trusted brands and formulations.
And in today's episode, the moment I definitely have all been waiting for, we have a very special guest on today's episode making his debut. It's Rufus, our lovingly snarky schnauzer who has some very spicy thoughts about today's conversation.
So if you've ever stood in the pet supplement aisle wondering whether that mobility chew actually contains what it claims, or if it's just label candy, this episode's for you.
Welcome to Barking Mad, a podcast by BSM Partners. We're your hosts, Dr. Stephanie Clark.
And I'm Jordan Tyler. So I think to really kick us off today, we should first get an understanding of the supplement landscape. I know we just kind of went through it super high level, but let's dig a little deeper here. There are a few things that have led to this rise of pet supplementation. And really, it does come down to what you said, Dr. Steph, earlier. People just want to do right by their pets. They want to make sure that they're comfortable, they're well fed, they're not having any discomfort, and that they're staving off any negative health issues or diseases and anything like that. So why everybody's so obsessed with pet supplements? Because they're a form of preventative care. Rising costs of pet care, everything from the veterinarian's office to the food that you buy to the services that you and your pet use. Those prices are rising as we trend more toward preventive care and shift more from, reactively supporting our pet's health. If something's wrong, take them to the vet, and move toward proactively supporting their health. And this, I think, is really just pet owners are paying more attention. They're keeping closer tabs. They're keeping an eye on their overall health, comfort, well-being, and recognizing supplements as a way to fill any gaps or meet any unmet needs that they perceive that their pet has.
We want to provide comfort or at least alleviate some discomfort, right? I mean, I've got older dogs. Sometimes they jump off the couch. Sometimes they go up the stairs a little bit more slowly. And then I'm like, maybe a joint supplement would help. But if I'm walking down the aisle and I look at the supplement aisle or I go online and look, I mean, how many joint supplements? And I'm picking on joint supplement because I've got older dogs, but how many are out there? And then we start thinking about, what are the similarities and differences between human supplements and pet supplements? And I'm sure we pick pet supplements based on what we would pick for ourselves or what we think we want to see in our supplements. And I guess the similarity is it's kind of a mixed bag, right? We go to the supplement aisle at a food store, a grocery store, and you hope and you pray and you're picking that the supplement that says on the label XYZ is in here. You hope XYZ is in there. But that's not always the case because there's really no governing body saying yep, we've tested this. What's on the label is in there. And actually, there's quite a bit of research that people have picked up these supplements and tested them, and then what is actually in the supplement, whether it's a tab, chew, powder, whatever you want to call it, and what's on the label aren't matching. And the same is true for our pet supplements. Now, the human supplements, they're regulated by the FDA as food, not drug. So there's a little bit of regulation there. But, just like in pet with all things, it's a slow trend to following that regulative and regulatory path that we have in the human supplements. So there are some regulations around it, but it's not as rigorous as we would like. So, yeah, it can be really confusing. And that confusion causes mistrust and a rift. And then you've got these pet owners who are stuck in the middle of, I just want to do right. I just want to pick something that's efficacious or something that is going to, when I give it to my pet, is going to have some sort of positive result.
But you're totally right. It's totally created a rift in the market, and that pet owners feel like not all companies are telling them the truth. But it's definitely cropping up here in the pet supplement space as well. And take it from our first guest, Vincent Bierzak. He's the Vice President and General Manager and the Chief Marketing Officer for Pet Ag, which is an animal nutrition company that's historically focused on milk replacers, but is now expanding into all sorts of supplements for all sorts of companion animals.
I think if there's one thing that I've learned over my career in this category specifically, trust is the currency with which we play. And if you have that, you can leverage that. And if you lose that, it's really tough to get back. And there have been exposés and reports on human supplements and the quality of human supplements. And in some cases, the lack of alignment between what some of these independent testing bodies found in the product versus what was claimed on the label. In some cases, in the human supplement space, there have been reports of a lot of these human supplements having being contaminated with heavy metals. And, that gets into a consumer's mind when they read about that, and it sits in the back of their mind, and they think, well, what does this mean for pets and pet supplements? And how do I ensure that, first and foremost, they're going to be safe for my pets?
On the other hand, pet supplements are regulated at the state and federal level. Lisa Moltke, Director of Regulatory Affairs at H&H Group, which owns the Zesty Paws supplement brand, those orange tubes you've probably seen on the shelves and online, says that pet supplement space is regulated pretty differently compared to human supplement regulations.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions on both the supplement and the animal food industry side is that consumers think that they're not as regulated as human supplements and food, which in my opinion, it's actually kind of opposite. Pet supplements and pet foods are regulated at a much higher level, in my opinion. Not just federally, but with every single state.
Let's hear from another regulatory expert, Dr. Emily Taylor Cotton, Director of Food Safety, Quality Assurance, and Regulatory Services at BSM Partners, about why the way pet supplements are regulated feels kind of like the Wild West.
Why it kind of becomes the wild, wild west, we say, is that there are a lot of supplements out on the market that are using ingredients that aren't recognized by AAFCO or GRAS.
Okay, when Dr. Taylor Cotton says grass, she's not talking about your lawn. She's talking about generally recognized as safe, GRAS, or GRAS, a regulatory pathway that allows ingredients to enter the food supply for people and for animals without formal approval from the FDA, but only when the safety of that ingredient is, quote unquote, generally recognized as safe by qualified experts. So think of things like vegetable oils, salt, citric acid. These are things that we've all been consuming for a long time, and they have proven histories of being safe for consumption. Anyway, back to Dr. Taylor Cotton.
And an example for that would be like glucosamine and chondroitin. Texas has a concentration max on both of those, whereas maybe other states don't. And so it could kind of go all over the place, right, of what you're going to put into a supplement and how much glucose controlling you're going to use. But Texas highly regulates that.
So, yeah, that's why pet supplements sometimes feel like the Wild West.
Oh, hey, Rufus.
Rufus!
Rufus! Rufus!
Rufus. We all know Rufus. Everybody loves Rufus. He's a great dog.
Hang on, Rufus is here now? I've got some beef with this Wild West. Like, where is the sheriff for pet supplements? And why is he on vacation?
Well, Rufus, it's not that simple.
It never is with these things. Is there at least a badge, a whistle, a strongly worded memo?
I mean, there are regulators, guidelines, audits.
So there is structure, I see. But also 50 different rule books. Depending on what state you're in, of course, right?
Yeah, that can happen.
So when pet parents feel confused, they aren't completely crazy then?
No, it is that complicated.
I just want to know that what's on the label is actually in the jar. Is that too much to ask?
It shouldn't be, but sometimes it can be. And that's exactly why we're doing this episode, you know?
Yes, makes sense now. But what do I know? I'm just a dog. All right then. Back to the doghouse I go. I'll pop by later if I have any more grievances. Take care and mind yourselves.
Oh, Rufus. Here's another thing about pet supplements is states are very particular about ingredients and claims that supplement brands can actually put on a label. So they break this out into two different categories. Claims fall under either a nutritional claim or a drug claim. So an example of a nutritional claim would be something like supports healthy joint function, helps maintain a healthy skin and coat. Something essentially that supports a normal bodily function, right? It's not promising to cure anything. It's not promising to mitigate anything or promote or, I don't know, Dr. Steph, is prevent one of those no-no words for a nutritional supplement?
It is. And even promotes can be a little too far out there, right?
So what are some examples of drug claims? Like if you see this claim on a label, on a supplement label, you know, it should be regulated at the federal level.
Yeah, so by no means not a regulatory here, but there's like two things we need to look for. One is the type of control or action word, right? So like prevents, reduces, controls, mitigates, cures, treats. But then is it a condition? So hip dysplasia, inflammation, seizures, anxiety, any one kind of combination of all of those is a huge red flag.
Yeah. And you know who will agree and appreciate that sentiment, Dr. Steph, is Bill Bookout. So he is the president, board chair, and the founding member of the National Animal Supplement Council, or the NASC. And let's hear what he has to say.
Say, in terms of claims, if a company mentions a disease, they're violating the law or implies. So diagnose, prevent, treat, cure, mitigate disease. So if you see a company that talks about relieving pain and chronic pain in dogs with osteoarthritis or cancer or IBD or any other chronic condition or disease, those companies are violating state and federal law. Right? Now, some companies make mistakes just because they don't know any better. Companies that make claims that sound too good to be true probably are.
So all of this regulation, yet still there's plenty of room for bad actors and misleading claims. So e-commerce makes it easy for brands to, quote unquote, fly under the radar. And issues of what we call like either pixie dusting or label candy, where it's things you want to see on the label, but maybe either don't have enough research to back up that support or are not in at the amount that really is going to give that benefit. An example of this is chamomile. We love chamomile. We love to drink chamomile tea. We think it's very calming and relaxing, and there is a fair amount of studies for humans that it does. However, not so many studies in pets. But when people are picking up pet supplements for calming, they flip over and they want to see chamomile on the ingredient list. But that doesn't really have much research to back it up. So that could also be considered kind of label candy. It's something that we want. It's something because we like it, but it maybe isn't really beneficial.
All right, so there you have kind of the lay of the land of the pet supplement environment. But before we dive even deeper into some of those challenges and others, let's chat about why a pet would even need a supplement in the first place. So to educate us on that, we have Dr. Bradley Quest, principal veterinarian at BSM Partners.
Things like, joint health is a big one. Skin and coat. I think it's pretty well documented that in a lot of cases, skin and coat type supplements can help pets with, skin issues, digestive issues. There are going to be a lot of, medical conditions where it might be beneficial. And I'll use myself as an example. I've taken joint health supplements for, a long time. And I think they help me. But what I look for are supplement companies who are using existing research.
Yeah, Dr. Quest definitely mentioned skin and coat, joint, and digestive health. But I think another one that's getting popular, and for better or for worse, right, is calming. And I say better or for worse is that's really difficult to formulate something because calming is kind of in the eye of the beholder. It's really subjective. Like what your definition of calm for your dog may not be the same definition of calm for my dog. And so the functional or the active ingredients that we can actually put into supplements, very little research on it. And then what research is, some actually have patents, so we can't use it across the board. So it makes formulating that particular supplement for that particular condition really difficult.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me, and this is probably, I'm biased here as well because I had a senior dog up until recently, but I have seen so many supplements that are like targeting, your golden years, your dog's in their golden years. Don't you want to make sure that they're still comfortable and all that? But otherwise, I'd say those are the big ones that I usually see.
Supplements are not like pharmaceuticals. So they're going to take time before they become efficacious. A joint supplement may take 30, 60, 90 days before you start seeing an effect.
I think supplements are beneficial, but again, they're not a magic bullet. I think what we want to achieve for our animals is the same thing we want to achieve for ourselves. Long, happy, healthy life to the maximum degree possible. Supplements are a valuable component of that. But it's a three-dimensional sphere that makes up this thing that we look at as health and wellness and longevity. Diet, exercise, home environment, supplements. There are many factors involved.
So pet supplements can certainly be beneficial for pets who need a little extra support. But like Bill says, they're not a silver bullet approach.
So folks, let's have just a real quick recap. Because if you're anything like me, regulatory can get in the weeds real quick. The FDA regulates products that carry drug claims, so treating, preventing, diagnosing, all of that good stuff. AAFCO regulates nutritional supplements, and these are going to provide B12, like Jordan was talking about, or enzymes for digestion, or extra fats, or proteins, that sort of stuff. The NASC co-regulates with these entities, helping brands understand where the regulation burdens of proof lie and how labels should read based on what's actually in their supplements and the promises or the claims that they can make.
So let's learn some more about the National Animal Supplement Council, or the NASC, which is not a regulatory body but works closely between regulatory bodies and brand owners to help them navigate this quote-unquote Wild West environment. It has one of the world's most advanced post-market product monitoring systems. So that's essentially once a product has been certified, it continues to be monitored by the NASC program just to make sure that it doesn't fall out of compliance down the road. This certification tracks more than 6,500 products and 1,400 ingredients, and it's growing. But I won't say any more. Let's just hear it from Bill.
Usually when you talk to somebody like me who's the president of a trade association, you get an attorney or you get a former regulator, and I'm neither one of those. I'm a business guy. I was the executive in the medical device and drug industry. But I had 2 Labrador retrievers, and one of them had cancer. He was given a very poor prognosis. I'm looking for help, and, I wanted to achieve for my dog the same thing I think that we all want to achieve for our pets. We want them to live a long, happy, healthy life to the maximum degree possible, right? So I find a veterinarian, formulate a supplement, completely changed his diet, and he lived 2.5 years, good quality of life, which wasn't long enough, but I was thankful for that. And so I decided I'm going to start my own business selling supplements for animals, help animals. So I did in 1999. And you would think with somebody with my background, I'd be able to figure out what at least the regulatory requirements are, right? I did drug development, device development, worked with FDA. You'd think I'd be able to, figure out what to do. Wrong. I made every mistake you can possibly make, it seemed like. And so there were a lot of things I didn't realize about supplements, one of which was they're regulated differently than human dietary supplements, a mistake that I made, an assumption that was not correct. And so started NASC in 2001 to try to pave a responsible path forward for companies that wanted to provide supplements for animals.
Certifications are a great way for consumers to discover brands who are really putting their money where their mouth is.
They take everything to the next level for the pet parents. And so what a brand has to do for NASC is they have to provide them with a lot of information, all of the studies that they've done, information on the ingredient, information on the supplier, where they're getting these active ingredients from. NASC does a full dive into all of these active ingredients as well as the manufacturers. And it's basically just that next level of guarantee that, that deep dive has been done. That if they're looking for a supplement, one more level that they can trust would be looking for that NASC seal.
So let's hear how this process actually shakes out, like real life, how it looks. By supplement brands who've been there, who've done it, who have been through the thick of it. So let's hear directly from Ryan Frank, Head of Research and Development and Regulatory Affairs at pet supplement brand Pet Honesty. Ryan, anything surprise you as you went through the NASC certification process with Pet Honesty?
So it's not a casual audit. It takes commitment by the company. For us, it's a multifunctional audit for us where we bring in R&D, regulatory, our quality team. But one thing to answer your question that kind of surprised me was, I think just how comprehensive the audit is, where they're looking at manufacturing, labeling, off-pack labeling, with your, what are you selling, how are you selling on Amazon, how are you positioned on Amazon, Chewy. And then I'd say the last one would be finished product testing, that not only should we require as a brand to ensure that our product meets label claims, but you also have NASC confirming that you are doing testing and that you what you're putting on your label is truthful and not misleading. And that right there fits really well into why we got the certification. What you put on the label must match what's in that jar.
According to Lisa at Zesty Paws, the NASC certification goes beyond spot checking and conducts comprehensive audits so nothing slips through the cracks.
It's actually a very intensive process. So they're auditing not only, your products themselves, but they audit your quality processes, your SOPs, manufacturing information. They look at all your labels, all of your marketing collateral, anything that might be out there on the internet, whether it's with e-com companies or even third-party people like testimonials, that kind of thing. It takes initially many, many months. They also do a biannual audit. So every 2 years, a member company is audited again, where they kind of go through the same process. So yeah, NASC does a really good job in checking up on companies and in making sure that everything that we're doing is in compliance with federal regulations and state regulations.
Once a brand is an NASC member and carries that seal, it can still be confusing when launching new supplements into the market. This comes back to the claims thing we all talked about earlier. And according to Vincent, there is still significant gray areas here for both brands and the NASC to navigate.
I mean, you're talking to someone who's been in this area for 25 years, and it's still incredibly confusing. And the NASC will tell you if it's not something that's black or white, yes or no, you absolutely can or cannot do this. There's a lot of gray. So what they will provide you with is a perspective and a risk assessment that ultimately it's on the manufacturer to determine the level of risk that they want to assume in making a particular claim, for example. It's so complex. This is what keeps me up at night because there's no clear definition even between a functional treat and a supplement. So a lot of it is how you market it and what you intend the use for.
So it's not just the way that supplements are regulated that makes them so mysterious. There's also the fact that there's a limited amount of clinical, peer-reviewed, publicly accessible research around pet supplement ingredients and formulations. And Dr. Steph, you brought this up earlier, but there's a few different reasons for this, right? Companies, first of all, have pretty much no financial incentive to invest time and money into research because the pet food industry, there's a lot of what people consider proprietary information. And so that's why they won't publish research because they would have to divulge that proprietary information in the research. So that's another reason. But bottom line, it's super expensive. It takes a lot of time.
I get it. Research is expensive. It is. And at the end of the day, every business needs to make money. But to really substantiate these claims, research should be done and safety should be tested.
You're right. Research costs money. So how do you recoup the investment when there's very little intellectual property protection for natural substances, right? So you can have your company and do a great clinical study and substantiate the claims on your product, maybe even claims that you could use disconnected with, marketing. But somebody else could come in, Bill's Pet Supplement Company, knock off your product, reverse engineer it, and sell it cheaper than you, right? So when people say, well, I won't buy supplements until I see more research, really the right question is, why isn't there more research on supplements, right? And the two limiting factors are, you might substantiate a claim that you can't use, and how do you recoup the investment, given limited protection via intellectual property, meaning patents or other IP.
Well, coming full circle here, this may be why the pet supplement market feels like a bait and switch. Nobody wants to make their private intellectual property, the thing that differentiates their business, available for other people to take. Whether it's ingredients or formulation or process or something else. Really, we don't want to say it publicly. That's our secret sauce. It's very, very expensive. Research is very expensive. And there's no guarantee that the research results will be what you want. And that's a hard sell for an ROI. I know it's a hard sell for us here at BSM. We talk about, we can absolutely do the research, but we cannot guarantee you're going to get the result you want.
So let's hear now from Rebecca Rose. Rebecca is the CEO of In Clover, a natural pet supplement brand that prioritizes not only talking the talk, but walking the walk when it comes to pet supplement research.
Having the research allows the pet owner to feel better about giving the supplement to their pet, to understanding that they are not testing it on their pet. There's so much responsibility that comes with pet ownership, and that to me is critical. It's table stakes. It's the cost of entry. It's what every company should do, should be able to say, this is why I'm adding this ingredient. This is where I get this ingredient. And this is how much I'm adding because this is the right amount. And all of those questions need research in order to answer them. There is a lot of marketing around this segment, and marketing often doesn't equate to scientific testing. And so, as long as we have our focus on marketing, then the science is going to be play second fiddle to that. And I think for companies like ours who have done this, we need to tell a better story. We need to help consumers understand why it's important. And when it becomes important, then it will be done.
All of that said, all of the reasons why there isn't as much research as there probably should be, still not really an excuse. I'm sorry, but it just ain't. Companies really should invest more in research, or, as we like to say here at BSM, they're testing their products on your pets. And that's kind of uncool. I don't know. I think it's uncool.
But there are manufacturers out there. I'll give you an example. We call it pixie dusting or label candy, where a manufacturer will find a trending ingredient and know that there's consumer interest in that ingredient, and they will put it in a product, but it won't be there at a level that provides any efficacious benefit. It's just there to put it on the label. And, we believe at Pet Ag that that's misleading. I see a number of products out in the marketplace that I'll look at the ingredient and it's not an ingredient that has proven benefits for a pet, but it is something trending that people are talking about, know about maybe in the human space, and they're just assuming that it's also good for their pet. I mean, CBD is a great example. There's a lot of talk about CBD, but there's still not a lot of proof out there from a scientific standpoint. And then if you look at brands that are including CBD, you don't know what an effective level is. And you'll see it's one dosage in one product and another dosage in another product, and you have no idea if that dosage is doing anything for the pet.
All right, so we need to land the plane here. There are some key takeaways. First and foremost, kids don't accept label candy from strange companies. Yikes. Especially if they're in a white van. And look for research. Brands that prioritize scientific evidence, safety, and testing have your pet's best interests in mind.
Every single product, when they give it to me, research and development, to kind of create the label and research it all, has basically an evidence sheet where they have gone and connected specific scientific studies to every single active ingredient, which, like I said, I've never seen that before. And I'm not sure how widespread that is in the pet industry, but every single active ingredient that we're talking about, the levels that we're guaranteeing, the active levels that we formulate it for, coincide with scientific studies to ensure that that level is actually going to be, efficacious.
And Dr. Steph brought this up earlier, but just to rehash this little bit of nuance, just because an ingredient has established safety studies for human consumption does not mean that that ingredient automatically is safe for pets. Think back to the toxicity series that we did, right? We talked about xylitol. It's great. Xylitol's awesome for a whole bunch of human food and personal care products, but it is so highly toxic to dogs. This is why it's so important to conduct species-specific research, not just peer-reviewed research, but species-specific into active ingredients like this, so that we can be absolutely certain there won't be any negative long-term effects.
We are very intentional on the ingredients we use, and we always try to formulate where there's efficacy in companion animal data to show that there's a benefit. More active ingredients doesn't always mean better, right? So it's about quality and not quantities. And you could see 15 different actives on there, but that may not always be the best thing for the dog.
So there you have a few companies speaking to their supplement formulation practices. But now you know about the NASC too. That's a great resource if you're looking for supplements that have undergone third-party certifications and are subject to audits. We'll add a link to the NASC member list to the show notes for this episode, and you can search supplement companies and see if they've been audited as well.
Yeah, super great resource. But before we close out today, what are some red flags to watch for? Anything pet owners should do, ask, look for, avoid as they parse pet supplement labels? And let's start first with our BSM experts, Dr. Taylor Cotton and Dr. Quest.
Red flags for me, not just claims, are going to be ingredients that you haven't ever heard of, right? What is that ingredient actually, and what, are we using it as an intended use? And also that, am I comfortable taking that myself? And am I comfortable giving it to my pet?
Just because you can buy it doesn't mean that it should be appropriate, for every pet. An example might be, a pet with kidney disease and a well-meaning pet parent buying a supplement that might have, mineral levels that would be contraindicated or mean that the pet shouldn't have those because it could actually make their medical condition worse.
And here's something else to consider. Your veterinarian may not be the best person to ask about pet nutritional needs, according to Vincent.
The number one source of trust from a consumer, or the source of advice where they go, is the veterinarian. So consumers are going to veterinarians for nutritional advice. That would be like you or me going to our doctor, our physician, for nutritional advice. Doctors are not nutritionists. They're two completely different things. It's a completely separate and additional area of study that a veterinarian has to pursue if they want that nutritional credibility and want to be involved in more nutritional decisions. And I think most of them would come right out and say, it's not my area of expertise, but they do field a lot of questions about it. So my advice to the consumers would be, do your homework. The vet may not be the all-knowing source of wisdom that you think they are. So I would strongly encourage consumers that are considering pet supplements to do the research on their own and not solely rely on their vet, unless their vet happens to be one of those few board-certified veterinary nutritionists. Then 100%, they are more than qualified to give you the advice on nutrition. But most of them really aren't.
Oh, hey, Rufus.
Rufus!
Rufus! Rufus!
Rufus. We all know Rufus. Everybody loves Rufus. He's a great dog.
Wait now for a second. I thought the vet knew everything.
Well, they do. They know a lot.
So when I ask about joint supplements and they hesitate...
Well, it may simply not be their specialty, right? Nutrition's really its own discipline.
So you are saying that my vet can diagnose kidney disease, but may not know if this $58 longevity blend will actually work for me?
Yeah, that's more than likely.
Well, then who do I trust? The internet?
Absolutely not, no.
Because I found this form where this guy said he reversed his dog's aging with elk antler juice and positive affirmations. Sounds legit to me.
No.
He also tried to sell me crypto. Wait now for a second. I've been hoodwinked.
Oh, Rufus. Anyway, if you want advanced nutritional guidance, look for experts credentialed in companion animal nutrition, like board-certified veterinary nutritionists or board-certified companion animal nutritionists like Dr. Steph.
So stay away from the Reddit comment sections.
Correct.
And no medical advice from usernames with numbers in them. Got it.
Another trusted tip from Lisa, that NASC label should be your friend.
Looking for that NAS seal is a good start. To make sure at least it's gone through that process of, that audit and qualification process. Any, pet parent who has questions or is concerns or, is trying to figure out what to use, call the companies, just talk to them. Say, you have 3 mobility supplements that you're looking at, call every single company or email them and see what they have to say. And that's probably one of the best things that they can do. Don't have blind trust. Just because something is on the market doesn't mean that it's, science-backed or formulated well or, regulatory compliant or, you know, even safe manufacturing-wise. Don't assume just because something is being sold, that means it's safe and helpful and beneficial.
And like most things, a healthy dose of skepticism goes a long way. When asking companies for more information about the supplements they sell, there are no stupid questions.
And as much as I don't like putting it back on the consumer, I do feel like the consumer has to get curious and has to ask these questions that it'll very quickly be clear if research has been done or not if you simply ask about why are you adding this ingredient and why are you adding it in this amount and what does it do?
So, pulling out our crystal ball, what does the future look like for NASC? An exciting recent development, we heard a few guests today talk about how the line between supplement and functional treats is becoming a little too blurred for comfort. And honestly, how we like it here in the US. And so the NASC is looking to address this by expanding its scope to also include functional treats, according to Bill Bookout.
Treats are food, they're regulated as food, but they don't have a functional purpose or a nutritional benefit. So we'd like to eliminate the term or classification functional treats because it's really misrepresented. And that's the difference between nutritional supplements and treats. Nutritional supplements make nutritional contributions. Treats are enjoyment, training, rewards. Eventually, this category of supplements for animals not being statutorily recognized at the federal level, we're going to have to fix that at some point, right? And that's why we hope people buy NASC members' products, is because not only do I think you can have a high degree of confidence to the product because the company's acting responsibly, NASC members are also contributing to a cause greater than their own individual company's self-interest. Together, we make the industry better. I believe in my heart we make a difference in the lives of millions of animals every single day throughout this country and throughout the world through our members' products.
From a regulatory standpoint, we still have some things to figure out, according to Dr. Taylor Cotton. Not just so it's easier for brands to create and market their products, but also to help pet parents make more informed decisions.
Our goal should be that supplements are not the Wild West, right? We need probably more stringent guidelines on supplements in general. Do I think that we're going to see that going forward? Yes. Having those guidelines are going to be really important and going forward, not just for us as nutritionists, regulators. It makes our lives a little bit easier if we have, straighter guidelines, but for pet parents as well, to know that what they're feeding their animal is going to be okay.
And for any brands out there listening who are looking to get a supplement back to the market, hey, BSM Partners, we're here for you. We've got your back.
BSM has a wide range of nutritionists, vet nutritionists, regulatory, consumer insights. We've got so many different practices that, for a brand, we kind of open the door wide open and say, what are you looking for? All the way from the beginning of, what do you think that pet parents are wanting today? What are they looking for? All the way to formulations, and then are we meeting all the regulatory requirements? The other piece is that, we work very closely with NASC to make sure that any formula that we put together, we have all of the documentation that we need to make sure, that, again, we are putting the best, safest products on the market that we can for our brands.
All right, there you have it. Let's review. Pet supplements aren't magic bullets. They won't reverse the aging process, they won't cure chronic diseases, and if someone promises they will, that's your first red flag.
But when formulated responsibly, backed by research, and used appropriately, supplements can absolutely support whole pet wellness, especially for mobility, skin health, digestion function, and even aging support.
That little NASC seal on the label isn't just decoration. It represents audits, adverse event reporting, label reviews, finished product testing, and accountability. It's one more layer of confidence in a very crowded market.
But certification alone isn't enough. Pet owners still need to read labels, ask questions, look for that evidence. Be skeptical, especially of those dramatic claims.
And remember, if a company hasn't invested in their own research, they may be learning in real time on your pet. Science costs money, transparency takes effort, and brands doing both are telling you something about where their priorities lie.
At the end of the day, supplements should support the fundamentals, like quality diet, exercise, environment, and veterinary care. They're not meant to replace them.
So go out there, call some companies, ask why an ingredient is included in their supplement and at what level. Look for credentialed expertise, and if your pet has a medical condition, make sure any supplement is going to fit into their full health picture.
Because the goal isn't just a longer life, it's a better quality life.
And between this episode, the NASC, and other resources we've added to the show notes for you for this episode can help you make more informed decisions for the animals who trust you completely, then that's time well spent. And if you're a brand listening, know that BSM Partners can support you with formulation work, VOHC compliance, and product development that truly moves the needle for pet health.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Barking Mad. If you want to learn more about BSM Partners, please visit us at www.bsmpartners.net. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite leading podcast platform or share it with a friend to stay current on the latest pet industry trends and conversations.
A huge thanks to Bill Bookout, Lisa Moltke, Vincent Birzak, Ryan Frank, Rebecca Rose, Dr. Emily Taylor Cotton, and Dr. Bradley Quest for sharing their time and insights with us today. We'd also like to thank our dedicated team, Ada Miette Thomas, Neely Bowden, Kate Wright, Katie Wolf, Anna Guilfoyle, and Jacob Parker. A special shout out to Leanne Haggerty and Michael Johnson in support of this episode, and to David Perez for our original music in the intro, outro, and for Rufus. See you next time!